Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning was released to theaters May 23rd of this year. Today it's out on digital. Directed by Christopher McQuarrie, this entry is marketed as the final film in one of the biggest action franchises of all time, spanning 3 decades of death-defying stunts from Tom Cruise from the vault drop in the very first Mission Impossible film in 1996 to climbing the Burj Khalifa building in Dubai to holding his breath for 6 minutes in Rogue Nation to so many others. The question comes down to how he would top it all off for his farewell film, his swan song, if you will. If it really is the last movie, that is. Let's talk about The Final Reckoning. Ethan Hunt has just received his most impossible mission to date, to somehow stop the AI interface known as the Entity. This is extremely difficult because the Entity controls everything, especially things connected to the internet, which in a lot of ways is everything. He must outsmart it and fast before it decides to take over the world's arsenal and create nuclear fallout. This was initially called Dead Reckoning Part 2 before they changed the name to The Final Reckoning so that I am assuming it would feel more independent, like its own thing, as well as final. Though obviously it is still a continuation from the last movie. When it comes down to the reason why you come back to the series again and again, the action set pieces, The Final Reckoning does not disappoint. There are some truly captivating moments in this film from beginning to end that had my heart racing and I exclaimed out loud, "There's no way could Tom Cruise do this." It was exhilarating, and it reminded me how it was like watching some of the other moments throughout the franchise, and that put a huge smile on my face. There's also a lot of shout outs to the previous Mission Impossible films, whether that mean previous actors that we've seen in the past, I won't tell you who, or a MacGuffin that had shown up earlier in the series that really didn't mean anything, finally has meaning now, which is awesome. The cinematography throughout the film is spectacular. The musical score that accompanied these heart-pounding action scenes and breathtaking cinematography moments was astounding. It really sold the atmosphere when it needed to feel exciting, or during the slower moments when it needed to feel a little bit more emotional, or maybe even somber. This movie does have a lot of somber tones, so these characters needed to sell feeling dread, and they absolutely do, but I think that that's a point of contention by people that don't like this movie so much. This is a franchise that as a whole is all about showcasing fun, energetic, high-stakes action balanced with emotions like fear, anxiety, and a never-ending sensation that time is running out. And the slower moments in this movie aren't so much anxiety-ridden as they are filled with dread, and maybe even uselessness. Ethan Hunt is always striving to do the right thing, of course, but you can see a weariness in his eyes in this film that feels like he's tired now. He's not so sure if he can do it anymore. That's good from an acting perspective, but some have called this film boring or a slog fest because of it. I don't agree with that. I actually really like the movie. I like the shift in tone, especially given it is a final film. It's a swan song, like I said. So ultimately, it needed breathing room, and it needed some finality in how people treat each other as well as how the narrative is put together. So that wasn't really a problem for me, but I can see where it might be for others. Personally though, I always thought it was kind of silly to use AI as the main baddie in not just the last 2 movies or anything, but in general as the final boss ever. While AI is relevant in today's age, and there has legitimately been experts that have worked on coding AI that have warned people where AI might be in 10 years, there's still something about the concept being AI that feels a little bit too goofy for Mission Impossible, at least for me. Then, of course, you get into the end of the world apocalyptic scenarios. That really felt on the nose. Like, oh, you want impossible, Agent Hunt? How about a nuclear war? Doesn't get much more impossible than that. Honestly though, I think that that is my main issue with the film. It's just that the concept sometimes feels a little bit like, It's dealt with really well for what it's worth, and I felt the threat of the AI, no doubt, so maybe I'm just getting my head a little bit. I also thought that the movie was a tad too long. Obviously, I think that the normal length for any of these movies is roughly 2.5 hours long, but being a final movie in a franchise, it felt the need to tie up some loose ends here and there, which expanded the movie out to about 3 hours long. And I'd be lying if I said that you didn't feel that runtime. However, for what it's worth, as a whole, the movie is exhilarating. From beginning to end, it is a blast. The slower moments provide the audience a moment to breathe before the next sequence occurs, and you're forced to hold your breath all over again. I mean, you can't hold your breath for 3 hours. I mean, come on now. This is how Mission Impossible has worked for decades. The stunts in this film are insane. Like I said earlier, I was blown away. My heart was pounding. I was completely unsure of what would happen next or who would live or die, because when it comes right down to it, a final film is something where all bets are off. I will admit that it is not the best film in the entire saga, nor is it the worst, but as a final outing, I think that it's pretty solid overall. I'm gonna give it 87 out of 100 possible stars. For me, that is an A- letter grade. But what about you guys? What did you think about Mission Impossible Final Reckoning? Were you a fan of it? Were you not? Is this how you wanted the series to end? Let me know in the comment section down below. And as for YouTube, you guys know what to do. Hit the like, subscribe button, and bell to be notified when I come out with the next review, whenever that may be. And until then, peace out.